I forgot you were there. My name is Elijah Wells, and today the Razzie nominations came out, so let's get on with it. To understand the Razzies, it's basically the award show where they offer the worst films the worst awards. Unlike the Oscars, Golden Globes, and BAFTAs, this is basically the worst of the worst at this point. So, for Worst Picture, we have Electric State, Hurry Up Tomorrow, Snow White remake, Star Trek Section 31, War of the Worlds, the Amazon Prime remakes. So basically, you know what you're getting into, as in another year of crap cinema. And it's also very interesting to note that 3 of these movies are streaming exclusives, and 2 of them got theatrical releases, being Hurry Up Tomorrow and Snow White. Guess what? Which one I've watched? And give you a hint, I've made a review about it. Electric State is basically everything wrong with modern cinema, from what I've heard, as in it's just nostalgia dumping, very grey, sluggish looking colour scheme, and just very pro AI. And of course, it's Chris Pratt just spewing out pop culture references like every minute, and also spewing out exposition like whenever he has the opportunity to. So basically, it's a Netflix the movie at this point. Hurry Up Tomorrow. Maybe I think I like Weeknd as an artist, but as an actor, not so much. I think just stick with the album with this one. I'm very surprised it didn't get a Grammy nomination, but I think it's very warranted for the movie to get Razzie nominations. Snow White. You know the movie is pretty much set up to fail by Disney, where its own controversy section on its Wikipedia page is pretty much, it takes up a huge amount of its own Wikipedia page. Like, it's that setting up to fail level bad, there's so much going on, like Gal Gadot's being pro-Israeli, the casting of like dwarves, and how CG heavy it is, and Rachel Zegler's dismissal of the original film. Pretty much the movie was doomed from day one. There's Star Trek Section 31. I've not heard of this movie before until Watch Mojo put on their worst films of the year list. Like, oh, it's a Paramount Plus movie. Well, welcome to Paramount Plus. I haven't actually heard of anything there. Go on there, so let's forget about it. And War of the Worlds. It's not based on a H.G. Wells novel, as we all know. It's more of a Ice Cube having a desk job, witnessing an alien invasion over a Zoom call. So, try and imagine it like this. Imagine they made, I don't know, 1984 or The Handmaid's Tale, but it's all in perspective of some shop owner, and it's all, let's say, an advertisement for McDonald's. And instead of this one, it's a advertisement for Amazon Prime for some reason. Maybe it could be done in a more ironic way, where it's kind of a mocking and teasy way on capitalism in the midst of an alien invasion. But it was distributed by Amazon Prime, so I think any irony the film was trying to aim for was gone out the window. So, in my opinion, for Worst Picture, I think as much as I might want to see War Worlds would win, but deep down I think Snow White's going to win for Worst Picture. For Worst Actor, we have Dave Bautista for In the Lost Lands, Ice Cube for War of the Worlds, Scott Eastwood for Alamo, Jared Leto for Tron Ares, and Abel Tesfaye, aka The Weeknd, for Hurry Up Tomorrow. Again, this is a lot of some not so great films, and films I've legit never, one film I've legit never heard of, being Alemi with Scott Eastwood in the movie. I guess it was one of the Watch Mojo's worst films list. That's back when Watch Mojo used to mean anything, but why bother? I kind of like this movie. And In the Lost Lands, it was advertised at the cinema I used to work at, and also it never even got released there. And also it was so bad it was barely got its money back. Like, its budget was like 50 million, and it couldn't even go over like 1 million apparently. It was apparently that bad. And also, it's so bad it was only released in like art house and independent cinemas. Like, you have to be especially badly received for that. Particularly, it was from the same director who did like Resident Evil and Event Horizon, which is, again, a bit of a low blow at this point. Ice Cube doing like several Zoom calls for War of Worlds, a movie that was apparently got so poorly received that even its own director couldn't be bothered to show up on set, despite the fact it was shot during COVID time in 2020 and was released 5 years later. Like, how long? I think there comes a point where you have to step back and think, do we release this movie that was released clearly shot during the pandemic, where we couldn't really interact with people, and we just release it as it is? Yeah, just release it. I can't want to see what's inside Jeff Bezos' head at this point. There's Jared Leto for Tron Ares, which makes a case that yes, AI can replace actors. In this case, it can replace Jared Leto and no one can tell the difference. And for Abel Tesfaye, aka The Weeknd, for the movie Hurry Up Tomorrow, he basically wrote the movie, produced the movie. It's pretty much the vulnerable hit pop megastar trying to act all vulnerable, but comes off like a cocky douche. So there's that view. It's less ooh I'm blinded by the lights and more ooh I'm blinded by the crap. But for worst actor, in my opinion, it's going to have to go to Ice Cube for World of Worlds, where making a case where you can't just phone it in when you're literally doing a webcam meeting. For worst actress, we have Ariana DeBose for Love Hurts, Mila Djokovic for In the Lost Lands, Natalie Portman for Foundation of Youth, and Rebel Wilson for Brideheart, and Michelle Yeoh for Star Trek Section 31. Ariana DeBose, who, despite winning an Oscar for West Side Story by Steven Spielberg, seems to be going out of her way to get every known Razzie nomination. Like, I think I've now got to the point where whenever there's a movie that stars her, it's going to get a Razzie nomination. So, it's got that bad now. Mia Jovovich for In the Lost Lands. Like, come on, just give us a Fifth Element sequel or something. Or maybe Resident Evil, because some people may have liked that, but really, a movie based by a Game of Thrones author who's now famous for the fact that he's never really going to finish that series. Natalie Portman from Phantom of Youth, I haven't heard of it, so let's forget it. There's Brideheart, which is basically Bride Wars and Die Hard, that rom-com from the early 2010s, and Die Hard, one of the greatest action movies and the greatest Christmas movies ever made, but this time it's clearly written by a divorced mum. And Michelle Yeoh for Star Trek Section 31. She's in it, I guess. And it apparently sucks. So there's that. I feel like you may have to go to Mila Djokovic for In the Lost Lands. And we go for worst remake, ripoff, or sequel. Or basically the worst of the Hollywood is basically running out of ideas at this point. We have I Know What You Did Last Summer, Five Nights at Freddy 2, Smurfs remake, Snow White remake, and World of Worlds remake, sponsored by Amazon Prime. I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's simple. I didn't watch this movie. And Five Nights at Freddy, it's basically 12-year-old Jimmy's first horror movie. Here you go, Jimmy. Here's Five Nights at Freddy for you. Don't get scared or because all these animatronics are all spooky and that. And make sure you don't wet your pants. Like, this is like 12-year-old's first horror movie vibes. Like, am I meant to find this scary? Like, this looks like it's meant to be so jump scare reliant that it kind of just dulls the experience out by the third act. Like, I haven't seen the first film either, and quite frankly, I don't care. And Smurfs, this is a movie that's so bad. Like, during my last weeks at Work at View, I joked about storming into a screening of that movie and throwing feces into the screen. It looked that bad, trailer-wise. It's basically tries to do this Spider-Verse animation where it's a hybrid of CG and hand-drawn animation and looks weird for some reason. And story-wise, it's basically they go into the live-action world, even though they did that with the two films they did in the early 2010s. And they do an animated one, which they did in late 2010s or something. I can't remember, but I feel like this is a point where they've only made it solely just to keep the rights for this franchise, even though it was distributed by Paramount and the other ones were done by Sony. I think it was just Paramount, and particularly David Ellis, I had to look at it, so I'm like, nah, we can make money out of this, so do whatever you want, I don't care. Yeah, so bad, I just wanted to throw poop at it. So, more like Schtroumpfs, which is the French saying of Smurfs, I would say poop. There's Snow White, which is a film so poorly received that I feel it pretty much united the entirety of the internet culture, as in me, who doesn't really care about the culture wars, the people who would usually watch Disney remakes, even though they're critically insane, people that would rant about woke culture for no apparent reason, even though they are also critically insane, and people that usually go to a cinema, like me, good for you, and people that barely go to a cinema at all. Okay. You united the entire planet to hating this movie. This is a movie that's so bad that we could get world peace out of it. Like, North Koreans, South Koreans could get peace. Ukrainians and Russians could also end a war, and also Israelis and Palestinians could end their conflict, all because this movie was so poor. And of course the final nomination is War of the Worlds, which is basically again a glorified Amazon Prime advert where Ice Cube looks at stock footage of aliens, and it looks like ChatGPT wrote this and also did the special effects and also did the editing and pretty much did everything. And Ice Cube was like, well, I have a couple of weeks spare, maybe I can do it. And that shows. So I feel like it's going to have to go to Snow White at this point. Like, it's pretty abysmal from what I heard. Now we go to supporting actress category. We have Annie Klamski for Brideheart, Emma Horvath for Strangers Chapter 2, Scarlett Rose Stallone for Gunslinger, and Casey Rowell for Star Trek 31, and Isis Felder for Alumni. I've not seen any of these films, I'm not familiar with these people. I'm guessing Scarlett Rose Stallone is related to Sylvester Stallone, but I think I'm guessing, just out of blind luck, I'm just going to go with Casey Rowell for Star Trek 31. And also, it did garner controversy that for Worst Supporting Actress, Gal Gadot is nowhere to be seen in that category, even though her performance, even though the movie is a negative, almost a negative magnet, as in it's attracting every negative aspect of critics, and pretty much the most obvious one is that Gal Gadot acted horribly in this movie, as in, you couldn't tell she was replaced by AI because she was apparently on set, but I couldn't believe that, just on sort of post that. It looks like AI just replaced her and just called it a day. Or she has the personality of a cardboard cutout. Like, I swear, I don't know, this packet of popcorn, or microwave popcorn, it has better acting abilities than Gal Gadot. So, imagine she could win if it's a write-ins are allowed in this thing, but highly doubt it. And for Worst Supporting Actor, we have all 7 artificial dwarfs, and Nicolas Cage for Gunslinger, Stephanie Doe for Brideheart, Greg Kinnear for Off the Grid, and Sylvester Stallone for Alumni. These all 7 artificial dwarves, basically the abomination of God's creation. And we have Nicolas Cage for Gunslinger. Well, he's kind of a regular there, so no need to make a joke here. Stephen Dolph for Brideheart, Greg Kinnear for Off the Grid, Sylvester Stallone, again a known regular Razzies for Alumni. I'm thinking I want to go with Snow White, all 7 abominations for Snow White. So it's basically 7 for the price of 1. An absolute bargain, if you ask me. For Worst Screen Combo, we have all 7 dwarfs from the Snow White movie, James Corden and Rihanna for Smurfs, Ice Cube and his zoom camera from War of the Worlds, Robert De Niro as Frank and Vito in the Alito Nights, and Weekend and his gigantic ego from Hurry Up Tomorrow. Also in dwarves from this Snow White movie, they look so disturbing now. I swear this is what Fantano sees before he gives an album a 10. And we have James Corden and Rihanna for the Smurfs movie, as in this movie would have been a hit if this was 2018. When you think about it, back when James Corden didn't turn out to be a complete colossal dick towards like restaurant workers and his own writers, and back when people had hope when Rihanna could have released a new album. But now, James Corden is pretty much a grifter who's pretty much saying, I didn't do that, and couldn't make one good movie to pretty much save his career. And there's Rihanna, who again is the literal cultural ambassador of Barbados, did Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and of course we've all given up on waiting to a new album. But there's a rumor that she could be doing a stadium tour or something, but she may have to crawl back from the possible win that is the Screen Combo. There's Ice Cube and his zoom camera. What a good advertisement for Zoom. Wait, is this meant to be an alien invasion? Looks like a Zoom advertisement. We have Robert De Niro for Alito Nights, a film that is, I kid you not, from the same guy who did Good Morning Vietnam and what was that other film? Rain Man, that Tom Cruise, Dustin Hoffman movie where Dustin Hoffman plays that autistic man. I just watched the trailer, this is from the same guy, oh, how the mighty have fallen! This looks like some very generic Oscar bait movie, or a type of film that your dad probably watches on, Netflix or Amazon Prime when he's bored or something, but it just looks unappetizing because it's so generic. And there's The Weeknd and his colossal ego from Hurry Up Tomorrow. Like I feel like at this point it's pretty much blamed on him. Like he wrote this movie, produced it, and of course starred in this movie, so he's definitely getting blamed for it. So for our screen combo is all the Seven Dwarfs from the Snow White abomination. That's my prediction. And of course we go to the last categories, being worst director, being War of Worlds, Star Trek, Electric State, and Hurry Up Tomorrow, and Snow White. And War of Worlds, the director was barely even in that movie, as in barely was on set, given the film was shot during COVID time, so not a good enough excuse. Star Trek Section 31, just like you, I've not heard of this movie, so let's move on. And Electric State, directed by the people who are apparently bringing Marvel back, even though they're just going to give it a bigger shovel. And there's Hurry Up Tomorrow, directed by the same guy who did It Comes at Night and Waves. Pretty much shoots himself in the foot, or by, I swear, giving The Weeknd a little too much control. And Mark Webb for Snow White. He went from directing, I think it was the My Chemical Romance video, Helena or something, then directed 500 Days of Summer, then did the 2 Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield, then shot himself in the foot with this crap. So that's a really good career progression, to say the least. So I feel like he has to go to War of the Worlds, just on sole purpose that the director wasn't even bothered to turn up. I just remembered the one snub I just forgot to mention, that Chris Pratt wasn't even nominated for Worst Supporting Actor. I'm guessing the Razzies were completely cool with pop culture references. And finally, for Worst Screen Combo, we have Electric State, based off of the novel by Simon Stålhag, and Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is based off the Weeknd album of the same name, Snow White, which is based off the Little Fairy Tale by Brothers Grimm, and of course a remake of the 1937 animated masterpiece, Star Trek 31, based off the iconic TV series of the same name, War of Worlds, based or barely based on the H.G. Wells novel, as in it's kind of like Dragon Ball Evolution, as in they only adapted the name only. So I feel like it's going to have to go with Snow White, given how wooden stiff the dialogue is. I kind of thought that the movie had enough champagne to fill the Nile, but you'll be in denial of how bad the dialogue is. And most importantly, we have the Redeemer Award, as in the award that rewards actors from who were previously awarded with a Razzie or nominated with a Razzie. And of course, they've made better work ever since then. So I feel like for this year, I want to give the nomination, or probably the win to, Kate Hudson for her movie, A Song Sung Blue, after she was nominated and probably won for her role in Sia's Music, a movie that was so appallingly received that it made Sia disappear. So instead of disappearing like her, she appeared in like Glass Onion, the Knives Out movie, and of course Song Sung Blue with Hugh Jackman in it. So, what do you think of the Razzie nominations this year? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. Also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and Letterboxd. And this is Elijah Wells, and bye.